Hello, hello. Welcome everyone. We are admitting people to this webinar, and we expect many people because we got an incredible number of registrations, so more than 300. So we'll give the time to everyone to connect. In the meantime, I can tell everyone that this is a webinar about positioning impact investing, and today we are going to present the position paper, the 5 W's of impact investing, that we have put together as Impact Europe with our partners. You will see a few of them connected today to guide you to the conversation under the umbrella of what we call the European Impact Investing Consortium. So I'm Alessia Giannoncelli, Director of Knowledge and Programs at Impact Europe. And today I'm here together with Roberta Bosurgi, our CEO, and Gianluca Gaggiotti, our Senior Knowledge Manager of Impact Europe. We will also moderate the webinar, but as said, we have with us incredible partners and speakers that will answer our questions, and we'll really try to present you all the details of this paper that marks also one of the milestones of a European collaboration in terms of the definition of impact investing and data and market sizing. So I'll give you some details on the structure of this hour and a half today. We will give you an introduction about the paper said, and we will welcome our speakers, and then we will have two parts in which we will discuss different items related to the position paper. So in the first part, we will ask our speakers to highlight some key elements related to this work. And in the second part, we will focus on the relevance of this work for the future. There will be also a Q&A moment. Again, considering the great amount of people connected, it would be important for you to write your questions in the chat. And then again, Gianluca and myself will make sure to moderate this part and ask the relevant questions to the relevant people. And in the end, we will conclude giving you some details about what's next after this, the launch of this position paper. So the webinar is also recorded, so we will share everything on our channels. And maybe now I would like to give the floor to our CEO Roberta Bosurgi, so she can introduce the work and the collaboration that led us to this position paper. Roberta.
Thank you, Alessia, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome you all today to delve into some of the outcomes of what has been a 3 years, a long journey, like 3 years of collaboration between Impact Europe and the GSG Impact National Partners, so the GSG NABs as they used to be called. And this collaboration started already 2 or 3 years ago from a kind of a coordinated exercise of data harmonization and data collection, but has evolved over time into a strategic ecosystem partnership aimed at strengthening the voice of impact investing in Europe, and also aimed at creating an enabling policy environment for impact investing. You will probably have already seen at the beginning of the year the first joint response on an SFDR consultation, the first co-signed manifesto with the policy recommendation ahead of the European elections, and there is more to come from this joint work. However, without a common definition of impact, none of these recommendations will be implementable. And so the 5W report that we hope to delve into today aims exactly at that, start converging a definition of impact investing from a European perspective so that we can build an enabling policy. This is, as I said, the work of 2 years of discussion and alignment, and we kind of hope that is the beginning of creating a common definition in Europe. So I really look forward to the discussion today and to hearing your feedback, because at the end of the day, we are all part of the ecosystem, and we are keen to hear from you also how this definition can help. So thank you to my team, to Gianluca and Alessia, but also thank you to Laure, Stephen, Jose, Thierry that are online today to take you through the work and where we landed. So Alessia, Gianluca, over to you.
Great. So considering the title of the position paper is the 5 Ws, I would like to start saying why, actually. I think Roberta explained very well how we got to this point. And here I would like to highlight a few elements. So we decided to embark on this journey because we felt there was a need of a clear definition of impact investing vis-a-vis other investing strategies, such as responsible and sustainable investing. Then there was also a need for a focus on the type of investees that are supported by impact investor, which are in the paper, the investees that contribute to solutions alongside intentionality, measurability, and impact management. And you will see, we will have our speakers answering some specific questions to highlight a little bit better what we mean with all of these. And then we also felt a need for more clarity on the investor additionality that we decided to acknowledge and assess through evidence of investor contribution. And we also needed an aligned and credible and recognized baseline of market data for benchmarking across the European impact investing sector. As Roberta was mentioning, we have started more than 3 years ago, actually on data. So we needed data, we needed to assess the market in Europe in a credible way, and we needed a definition of impact investing to come up to this great work. And of course, we also felt the need of not reinventing the wheel, but really building on the most widely acknowledged standards and definitions at global level, such as the Impact Management Project and also the definition of Global Impact Investing Network, the GIN. So this is a little bit a recap of why we started the journey and about the what. So the second why, as already said in the previous slide, we have identified these 3 main defining features of impact investing. So when we talk about intentionality, impact investors should have a clear ex-ante intention to contribute to solving social and environmental problems. And of course, there are multiple ways to show the intentionality. One of them might be having already a theory of change in all the strategy. The second one, it's about measurability. I mean, I think most of you online are familiar with this concept, but we also wanted to stress the concept of impact management. So using the data collected to understand really what works and what can be improved in the end to take better informed decision. And the third important defining feature of impact investing is, as I said, really financing and supporting companies and projects that have the mission of really providing solutions to address social and environmental challenges. So these are contributing to solution investees. And another important insights that we have included in the report is about the distinction between private and public assets. They are in the report treated separately because we wanted to recognize that processes, investees, and levers are very different when it comes to public and private assets. Again, this is just an overall introducing part, but then with our speakers, we will touch all these different points. So now I would like to give the floor to Gianluca that can keep going with the otherwise. So Gianluca, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alessia, and thanks, Roberta, also for setting the scene and acknowledging this effort that has been done by the consortium. Leaving the floor to the speaker, I'd like to present you a couple of extra slides. So first of all, we have also looked at the different capital providers that are active in the impact investing space, and we also aligned on a taxonomy, which has been developed looking at 4 macro categories that you can see here appearing in the slides. So we have identified private impact funds, banking institutions, institutional investors, and public investors. I will not go in depth into all of these categories because there is a dedicated section in the paper, and I wanna go to hear from our speakers. But if you're more interested into diving into this, please have a look at the paper. And I would also like to stress that in terms of geographical scope of the consortium, we look at impact investing managed in Europe, and as you may imagine, that can get invested and deployed worldwide. So I'm about to present you the key slide of all this effort. So it's a lot of content. So we'll also dive a bit deeper later on with our speakers. And as Alessia mentioned before, with the consortium, we looked at 2 main dimensions. First, how investors operate, and here we distinguish between investors with and without additionality. So please note that investor additionality can be financial or non-financial, and it is captured through evidences of investor contributions, like the provision of capital at flexible conditions, for example. On the investee side, we looked at where assets are allocated. And here we leverage the most acknowledged and used approach among impact investing practitioners, which is the ABC of Impact framework developed by the Impact Management Project. It categorizes investees based on their actions and intentions concerning social and environmental impacts. On the left-hand side, we can see we have organizations that act to avoid harm, which focus on identifying harmful practices and improving outcomes to align with established social and environmental thresholds. In the middle, we have companies that benefit stakeholders, which already operate within certain social and environmental boundaries and strive to benefit stakeholder while maintaining themselves or improving in these boundaries. And lastly, as Alice mentioned, there are organizations that contribute to solutions, which are those that actively address social and environmental challenges by providing targeted solutions that improve the well-being of specific populations or enhance environmental conditions. Please note that Impact Frontiers has published a lot of guidelines on how to leverage the 5 dimensions of impact developed by the Impact Management Project to help distinguish between these different categories of investees. Now looking at the different strategies identified, at the bottom left you can see we have responsible investing, which has no evidence of investor additionality and flows towards organizations that are already acting to avoid harm. The second strategy that we have identified is called sustainability improving or transitioning investing, which is characterized by those additional investors who are actively supporting harmful organizations and companies to develop a serious and consistent strategy to achieve outcomes within a certain sustainability thresholds. A quick note on the wording that we have used here is that we aim to link this strategy with the term transition finance and investing that has been used by the European institutions like ESMA and the European Commission, as well as with the UK Financial Conduct Authority, which used the term sustainability improvers. On the middle, let's say, we encounter sustainable investing, sorry, which flows into assets that benefit stakeholders, and for which we have not done any distinction, as we recognize the role of other market builders in this segment, like Eurosif, for example. And last but not least, in the right, we identified the segment which is also the core focus of this work and the work of the European Impact Investing Consortium, which includes, as you can see, impact investing and additional impact investing, depending on the presence of investor additionality. We know this map is not perfect, but we believe it summarizes the key results of this harmonization and consensus building effort that has been going on for 3 years. And we are also very excited now to test it openly with the market, as we have already done with our data collection. So without further ado, it is now the time to present our wonderful speakers of today. So instead of adding and reading the bio, I would ask them to introduce themselves, the organizations they represent today, and also why they believe this position paper is needed in the impact ecosystem, hopefully staying within 2 minutes. So we'll follow the order that is here depicted in the slide. So Jose, we start from you.
With pleasure. Hello. I'm very, very happy to be here with you. My name is Jose Moncada, and I am Vice Chair of Spain NAB. Spain NAB is the National Association of the Impact Investing Community. In Spain, we represent more than 45 entities, within which we have financial institutions, foundations, third sector entities, all of them committed to improve impact investing in Spain. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Laure, can you go next?
Yes, of course. Laure Semes-Schibraak. I have the pleasure of being the director of the Netherlands Advisory Board on Impact Investing, the Dutch NAB. And so we also, like the Spain NAB, we represent the impact investing ecosystem in the Netherlands. And this study was this position paper was particularly important for us because when engaging with the ecosystem, one of the key feedback we get and one of the key barriers to further developing the market is the lack of harmonizations and norms and standards. So we have from the very beginning, since almost 3 years, been collaborating with our colleagues in Europe to try to help set up these standards. And I hope we've advanced quite a bit. We're not there yet. It's a journey, but I hope this is a great leap already. Thank you.
Yes, welcome from my side as well. I'm Steven Cernils, the co-founder and chair of Impact Finance Belgium. I'm an impact investor myself, and I'm on the board, the IC, and even very happy to share in on the impact committee of certain impact funds. So they already start to exist as well, which is great news. And when we started Impact Finance Belgium around 1.5 years ago, we did our first round in Belgium. And the very first question of this very first round was always, what do you mean by impact investing, Steven? So it was clear that if you cannot go beyond this question and level on a common definition, you cannot go to the heart of the matter, which is, of course, increasing impact and impact investments throughout. So I think it's a very necessary condition. Of course, it's not a sufficient condition, but it's one of the main necessary conditions to have a common understanding what this is all about.
Hello, everybody. I'm Thierry Sibieux. I'm president of FAIR. FAIR is an illustration of what is collective impact. It's a group of 150 organizations. Some of them are financial institutions, some of them are social entrepreneurs, some of them are associations, and all those people who are working to make the French impact investing ecosystem to live in France. Myself, I'm an emeritus professor I founded the chair in ESSEC Business School about social entrepreneurship, and I am working on this issue of impact investing for a long time. And I think it's a very important moment today, and it's a very important milestone to set up a common definition in Europe, because as Alessia and Gianluca said, it's a condition which is not sufficient, but which is absolutely necessary. Stephen, I agree with you, for us to be heard in Europe and to develop impact investing. We did the same job in France 3 years ago, and we tried to get a common definition, but of course, a national one is not strong enough as a European one. So I'm very happy to be with you here.
Great. So thank you so much for reinforcing again the message about the importance of this position paper. And before starting the first section with questions for our speakers, I wanted to also thank the other partners that are not speaking today, but that have endorsed the paper. You have seen their logos at the beginning while Roberta was introducing the discussion. So, Social Impact Agenda per l'Italia, Impact Investing Institute, the IN, Hellenic Impact Investing Network, and GSG Impact. So we will re-put the logo at the end, but again, to reinforce the message about this effort at European level. So we really wanted to take a bottom-up approach, also listening to the different national market builders. So we have prepared, I would say, a great set of questions for our speakers and partners, because we would like to explain in details all what we just said in few slides. So I would like to start with Stephen. So maybe we can remove the slides. The first question is on the pillars. So Stephen, I would like to ask you, and I would like you to comment on why we started from intentionality and measurability, and then why we decided also to include this explicit mention to impact management.
Thank you, Alessia, as you said, for this great question. Let's see whether we can give some sensible answer to it. I think on the dimensions of intentionality and measurability, as you said in the introduction, it's not too difficult to find common ground. For a long time already, IMP, GIN, ourselves, we've been working with those definitions. So it makes sense, common sense, to align with this global understanding what is intentionality and measurability. And it makes sure that later on many more people can embrace what we're looking after in Europe. So I think that is quite straightforward. What's more difficult is this management part, because that begs the question, what is management? Is sitting on a board as an active shareholder, is that management, or is there more to it? And I went back to my very, very first years as a student, when one of my professors did a definition on management. And he said management is the art of getting things done effectively through a community of people. That was his definition. He's a well-known figure within Belgium and even outside, but I thought that made a lot of sense, because in this definition, there is this very active component, this active approach. It is getting things done. And we all know we're investing in companies that have novel solutions, that are adapting their business models to create greater good for the planet and the people. But these often are not set models. So the management is crucial, that you don't stick to KPIs that you ex ante defined and then you measure towards what they will look like, but that you manage outcomes rather than outputs, that you even try to manage impact, which is very hard, of course, but at least the outcomes. And as I'm an impact investor myself, I sometimes even reflect that when you invest in new business models and emerging solutions, sometimes the management of all of this is more important than the measurement. With the measurement alone, you can get stuck what you think, while you should be agile and flexible to make sure that the solution really brings value, additional value to your investees and to your beneficiaries in the end. Maybe two final remarks. We should not fool ourselves either. Often in these kind of settings, management comes at a cost. It requires time and effort and knowledge to be developed, whether it's the development of the theory of change or whether it's identifying the right outcomes, following on the outcomes. There is a certain cost. And as long as there is no impact transparency, the cost could be quite high. So this is a plea again to create impact transparency. We're working on this. CSRD is getting implemented, and it's a big hurdle for the time being. But let's hope that this will create more transparency, more alignment, more standardization, so that also the cost of management can go down over time. And not all, maybe as a concluding remark, not all investors have, from a competitive point of view, the bandwidth to put this type of management cost into their investments. And so for me, impact investing, and here Laura is with me, and Laura is in the Dutch market aiming to get 10% of all assets under management as impact investments. We have the same. I think we should not strive for 100% impact investments. I think if we go and move from 1 or 2% to 10%, that's already a major achievement. So we should also recognize that next to impact investing, there are other strategies, like you showed, Gianluca, like sustainable investing, that are as valuable as impact investing, to scale solutions that request maybe less nudging, less close monitoring, because they're more implemented and more embedded already in what we do and what we understand today.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And again, I think this exercise was not just to say we're better than others, but really to try and define things with the proper names. So thank you for this last remark. And maybe going back on the management component, nowadays there is this strong regulatory push towards the measurement. And I think that we shouldn't forget the management component, because this also brings learnings when it comes to KPIs data. So I think, of course, I mean, it was very important to add these components. And now going to Jose, to continue on the three pillars, looking at the final one we had, so the contributing to solutions pillar. Jose, I would like to ask you, why is it important to understand where the money is flowing and link impact investing with the C assets, so the category of investors that are contributing to solutions?
Yes, thank you very much, Alessia. I think this is one very important aspect in this paper. In Spain, also Spain NAB did a strong effort to create a common definition of what is impact investing, and dividing between impact investing and impact investing, additional impact investing, where this was a key focus of our effort. And it's great to have this common European voice signaling the relevance of the mission of impact investing. Whereas I agree with Stephen that all kinds of sustainable investments are useful and contributing. The key aspect of the impact investing and why we want to differentiate that, or one of the key aspects, is precisely because we have a mission as impact investors. We are trying to contribute for a better world, and that is the key word, the contribution. The framework of the ABC developed by the Impact Management Project is a very good framework and help us differentiate. While all the strategies are sustainable investment strategies are valuable, there where impact investors wants to put their money, they have to know that they are wanting to contribute to solutions. And whereas A strategy, avoid harm, or B, benefit stakeholders, are looking to reduce harm or to and can create as well a positive impact. The C category is help us to define better what is impact investing. Is to contribute to solve a specific issue to improve well-being of people or group of people and the natural environment. And this, in order to be more precise, we have the framework of the IMP with the 5 dimensions of impact that can help us land better what is to contribute to solutions. And we as impact investors very often face situations where it's not very relevant or very clear whether we are doing so in an effective manner. So when deciding where to invest, we can have this framework, very useful framework, to look at the investee and see to what extent is a company whose main business or whose main mission is to contribute to address otherwise underserved social or environmental challenges in a relevant way. And that's why we have the 5 dimensions of the IMP: the what, the how much, the who, the contribution, and the risk, that can help us identify where to put our money in the most effective manner from the point of view of the impact that we want to create. I think is very relevant that we, the European community of impact investors here represented, put the focus on the contribution of the investees. And not, it's not a way of blaming or considering or dismissing the rest of the sustainable strategies. To the contrary, all of us, we have a mission, but it is clearly that when an investor wants to contribute to solutions and make his or her money really be put at the service of improving the situation of collectivity or vulnerable group, or the situation of the planet, we need to be very clear on when are we really contributing by our direct investments, by the action of the investees. So I think we have to welcome this part of the paper where clearly we focus impact investing in the contribution of the investee.
Thank you so much, Jose. Of course, I agree with everything that you have said, and I like the sentence. I mean, we as impact investors have a mission, so definitely. And maybe linking this with the next question to Thierry, talking about an investor additionality. So I would like to ask you, Thierry, why is it important to recognize additional impact investing, and why we decided to capture it through an investor contribution? You are muted, Thierry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Alessia. As Jose and Stephen told it before, there are different strategies of investment. And the key issue is to differentiate impact investing of the rest of other strategies. And additionality contribute to help to more precisely define impact investing. In France, when we did this job to find a common definition, we decided to take 3 pillars: intentionality, measurability, and additionality. And additionality is an extension of the intentionality. In this paper, the decision was made not to put additionality on the same level as intentionality and measurability, maybe because that additionality is more difficult to figure out, is more difficult to measure also. But it's not because it is difficult to do that we don't have to do it. And to us, it's a good way to prevent ourselves from social washing or greenwashing, because in this project to promote social impact investing, the main danger is social washing and greenwashing, because these kind of behaviors can undervalue and limit the value of the actions of the impact investors. So when we're talking about additionality, we're talking about the investor strategy. And the additionality can be double. There is the non-financial additionality, which reflects active engagement from the investor that improves the investee's impact performance. And this idea is because when you are talking about impact investing, we are talking about what happened thanks to the investment that wouldn't have happened if the investment was not done. So it's a question of differentiation. That's why additionality is so important. So this is the non-financial additionality. And you also have, of course, the financial additionality, which is that the fact to accept disproportionate risk return ratios on and also to accept patient, flexible, or concessionary capital to underserved or underfunded projects. In other words, the impact investors finance projects that nobody else wants to invest in. And a good example is the catalytic capital, which targets gaps left by mainstream finance or the public sector in pursuit of impact for people and the planet, which otherwise couldn't be achieved. So that's the main explanation why we think that additionality is so important, and we still have to work to precise what is under additionality, how to measure it. We think that, as Stephen said, that impact management is important, because measure the impact is not necessary and is not useful if you don't manage your impact. And in the framework of this management impact, the question of additionality has to be taken into account, and that's maybe the next step of our job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thierry. And I think 2 points. Indeed, when we finalized the paper, the decision was to say impact investing is about intentionality, measurability, and impact management, and also contributing to solutions. So we didn't put additionality there, but what was very important for this paper and the discussion at European level was to make sure that we were able to define additional impact investing. So I think this was really important as a European effort. And as you said, it will be important to understand how to actually track and assess additionality. And in the data harmonization work that we are conducting again all together at European level, we're trying to some data to really assess what is the investor contribution to go in to the next level. So I would like to conclude the first round of question, asking Laure to comment on something that I put in the slide at the beginning. So the question of listed and unlisted assets. So Laure, can you tell us why is it important to recognize both, but still treat them differently?
Thank you, Alessia. And I think it's actually quite a good point to pick up on additionality and the remarks of Thierry, because you could think, yeah, well, what is the additionality of listed equities or bonds? And I think for us, it all started with the size of the challenges that we're facing right now with the climate crisis, the biodiversity crisis, and the whole transition that needs to be financed. And actually, from the very beginning, we also had an ambition. And Steven mentioned earlier, we have a 10% target of impact investing allocation in the Netherlands, and some of the more pioneering institutional investors have already adopted this target. And we wanted to make sure that the target of 10% would be done with integrity. So we thought it's very important to make sure that we create the conditions for all the challenges to be financed at large scale, because we need more than 4 trillion per year of financing to achieve the SDGs. And the second point is, so we need to be inclusive. We need all the money and all the hands on board, on deck. That's the first message. And we want to do things with integrity. So that's the second part. So how can we reconcile, create a strong framework for impact investors to invest with integrity? And around the time that we had our conversations, the GIN published their guidelines also for investing in listed equity. So all of this started taking shape, and we actually thought, okay, let's make sure that we include institutional investors. We acknowledge that, of course, if you're in the private market, you have, as an investor, a lot more additionality than if you're in the public market. That's obvious. But we also take we actually consider that impact must happen in the real economy. So it's not about what the investors can do. It's also about the underlying investment. Is it really contributing to a solution? Yes or no? And the fact that your underlying investment is going through an IPO and getting listed, as long as their core activity is still contributing to solutions, doing no harm, it doesn't matter actually how they are being financed. So that was also our standpoint. Another element, and I just want to come back quickly, Thierry mentioned that impact investor finance projects that no one else wants to finance. Well, yes and no, because a lot of larger investors have a fiduciary duty. They can't afford to finance projects that nobody else wants to finance. But at the same time, there are projects that are contributing to solutions that desperately need financing. Think about the energy transition, for example. It cannot be only government funded. There's a large catalytic role to be played also by different types of investors. So when we thought about this impact definition, we thought, okay, how can we make sure that we include everyone? We're being as inclusive as possible, with as integrity as possible. And that's how we produced this paper.
Thank you very much, Laure, for sharing these insights. I think it's a great conclusion of the first round of questions that really helped us dive into the different elements of the paper that we have included. And obviously, the main challenge that we have faced is to be as inclusive as possible, with as integrity as possible, covering a lot of different countries and different markets that don't necessarily have the same conditions. So there was a challenge, but I think where we land today is definitely a great milestone. So thank you very much also for elaborating on that. So I'll actually keep you on the spotlight, because we are going to move now to the second round of questions. So if we have focused so far on really the key elements that we have included in the position paper and those elements that we wanted to stress with the questions, now we move a bit towards the second phase, the second round of questions, which is around the relevance that this position paper has for the future work on market sizing policy, on impact investing at global vis-a-vis other also strategies. So I'd like to start from you, Laure, as you were the last one before, to give you the floor again. And I want to ask you, how has this position paper, how has it been leveraged in your country, so in the Netherlands, for market sizing? So how have you found it useful?
So, yeah, thanks, Gianluca. We are already using the position paper with the definition to relaunch our market sizing in the Netherlands. We did one 2.5 years ago. We're updating it right now. And we thought, yeah, we actually waited before launching our market sizing until we had the definition, because we noticed that, there was a lot of confusion. And in parallel, one of my colleagues, Simona Benvenuti, who is actually on this call as well, so if you want to get in touch with her, she's published a report zooming in on the barriers encountered by institutional investors in the Netherlands to scale up their impact investing. And one of the first things that came up was actually the lack of standardization. And when Simona conducted her study, she also looked into the top 34 institutional investors in the Netherlands. And the first thing she realized that there was absolutely no common definition and no common way of counting and presenting impact investing. And that was actually for us the biggest lesson learned from this research, is that there was no harmonization. So we immediately used the positioning paper. When we published, we also included the graph that you presented at the beginning, and made sure to engage with institutional investors as well, to try to educate them and support them in the categorization of their impact investments. Maybe one last thing that we noticed, and again, the positioning paper, it's a journey, it's a work in progress. One of the things we noticed is that a lot of investors were actually already calling impact investing and additional impact investing. They were calling it impact generating and impact aligned. That also shows that, that brings also that element of additionality. If you're impact generating, you have that additionality as an investor, whereas if you're impact aligned, you're just in line with what your underlying investment is bringing. And I think that was also one of our findings. And the way that we're using this positioning paper is to try to find that convergence with some of the vocabulary being used by the institutional sector. So yeah, I'll stop there. And maybe Simona, you can put the link to our study also in the chat.
Thank you very much, Laure. And as you mentioned, I think there's different terminologies available. We always need to be somehow aware of the fact that we are not the only one active in the ecosystem, but there is a huge attempt of building bridges and keep on harmonizing. And we have also been in touch with different institutions throughout the last years also to try to build bridges, and our effort will go on. So thanks for highlighting that. Now, I'd like to move forward and ask Jose again to reappear, let's say, in the spotlight. And I would like actually to ask you, Jose, if you could elaborate a bit more on how the content of this paper has influenced the advocacy work on SFDR and beyond.
Yes, I think precisely because the challenges that we're trying to face or to contribute with as impact investors are so enormous, we need to be very clever in the way we try to attract private money towards this investment. And that's why we need clarity towards impact investing. And precisely having one single voice or one common voice on to define impact investing can help a lot in doing that. And a key element was precisely to try to influence the EU regulation, the Sustainable Finance Regulation, in order to reflect in an adequate manner what is impact investing, so that investors that are willing to contribute and to invest in impact investing really are not misled by the European framework. Because it is true that we are coming from a European regulatory framework with the SFDR, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, where probably impact investing was not very well reflected. We all know that there's been some confusion between Article 8, 9, and the whole system that was not intended to be a labeling system, but at the end of the day, the market has considered it to be one label system. And in fact, there is now the idea that Article 9 funds are impact investing funds, where not necessarily is always the case. If we go through all the elements of the paper that we have that we are presenting, this intentionality, measurability, and additionality. Indeed, maybe all impact funds should be Article 9, but not necessarily all Article 9 should be considered as contributing to solutions through impact investing. So this is why this paper was key to have a common position by the European impact investors community. And in fact, it ended up all this effort in a common reply to the consultation of the European Commission on the review of the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. And on the basis of the findings of the paper, what we were trying to propose to the European Commission, I think somehow we can be proud of as to what we have achieved, is that there we go towards a labeling system. So we basically the reply to the European Commission based on the paper, on the common findings of the paper and the common elements of the paper, was to say to the European Commission, look, first of all, if precisely we want more informed investors to do informed, well-informed decisions, investment decisions, we have to make sure that all products, all financial products, all investable financial products, will have a common minimum set of disclosure requirements, so that there is a level playing field as to the impact, positive or negative, of these products. Then the second element was precisely to say to the European Commission, well, I think it makes sense, and this was an option posed by the European Commission, it makes sense to create a labeling system by which we can define, we can identify the different strategies, the sustainable investment strategies. So separating or differentiating between those that are strategies, investment strategies that try to avoid harm, those that go to benefit stakeholders, than those to go to contribute to solutions, going through the ABC dimensions that are in the paper. And precisely in this, and the third element of the contribution was to say, well, when labeling the products, do create a label that is of impact investing and that adapts adequately to impact investing. And on the basis of the three pillars, those is an investment made with intention to generate positive impact, where impact is measured and managed to improve it and to increase it, and where there is an additionality of the investment, the investee, and of the investor. And I think this is very European thing. It's great that we unite our voices and try to push for this, because the European regulation can have and does have a significant impact in channeling adequately or making investors channel adequately their investments toward their goals. So voila, I think this was very important to reply to the European Commission, and we have to remain attentive. We have to echo this position in paper and make sure it is well known in the industry and by the European regulators, because there is still more to do in that sense, and we need to make sure that we have a common European framework that adequately reflects what is impact investing, avoids the greenwashing, the impact washing, and avoids the confusion, and above all, brings clarity for the investor that wants to really contribute with its investments.
Thank you very much, Jose, for elaborating a bit on this element linked to policy and advocacy. I believe one of the key, let's say, elements of proudness, I would say, of this work that started on market sizing was to see how it could actually represent the basis for further alignment on other areas like policy and advocacy, which, as you just mentioned, are crucial to mobilize more resources for impact and unlock more capital. So thank you very much for stressing the message. We are on a journey. We are not definitely arrived yet, but we believe it sets us on the right track to keep on pushing for impact investing. So I'd like now to actually call Thierry, and I'd like to ask Thierry if he could elaborate a bit on how can the content of this position paper help us align also in the future with the sustainability/ESG world, elaborating a bit also on the experience that you're having in France.
Yeah, thank you, Gianluca. I could repeat the last words of Jose because it's really the key challenge. Let's come. The question of sustainability is a bit complex. As you know, the sustainable development concept has been launched in 1987, and then it was the Millennium Objectives appeared in 2000, and then the SDGs in 2015. And of course, all these targets, all these objectives, all these goals need money to be achieved. And this is the question of sustainable finance. And as Laure said before, there are and there were and there still are a lot of confusions between different kinds of finance, and these confusions nourish and increase the feeling of difficulty, of complexity, and also they increase the risk of greenwashing and social washing. And as I said in my first talk, this is one of the key issues for us. So the question is that there is all investment don't have to be impact investment, but it is necessary to know what is impact investing and what is not, what is sustainable investment, and how impact investment contribute to sustainable finance. In other words, we could say that sustainable finance is broader than impact finance. If we come back to the A, B, and C categories, because all these questions, of course, are challenges for investors, but the question is at the level of the investees, because the finance is nothing else that the tool, the ways for companies and for actors to realize their projects and to propose some services or some products which are not on the market yet. And when I said that impact investing is the investment for those people who decide to go where nobody else wants to go, of course it's extreme. But I think it's important to realize that impact investing will help to realize things wouldn't happen and will not happen spontaneously. We have the financial community has a lot of money, and our challenge is to motivate people to spend the money on these social projects, on these good and big projects, which will contribute to the social transition and to the environment transition. And this environment transition is, of course, the translation of sustainability and of SDGs. Then there are some questions about impact generating in France, and as you know, European Impact, when you were EVPA, we work on something like with impact and for impact. So we still have to work on these definitions. I come back to additionality, but it's a key issue to precisely to define the link between impact investment and sustainability. And we need clarification and sort of standardization. But if we want to have standardization, we have to agree on the basis and on the items on which we will build these standards.
Thank you very much, Thierry. I think you've really us an idea of what really is required in order to further align terminology strategies with other words that are not the impact investing. So starting with definitions and with clear boundaries. So thanks for elaborating on that. I would like now to ask a final question to Stephen. So Stephen, I was actually wondering if you could help us elaborate on why is this European alignment still important and somehow also ongoing, and how can it help foster the impact ecosystem globally, so beyond Europe as well?
Thanks, Gianluca. A lot has been said by my colleagues already, and I think throughout the discourse it became obvious, and it is obvious, I think, for many of you that, look, if the Dutch are doing a market sizing, the English are doing a market sizing, the French are doing a market sizing, and the one is saying 4% is impact investment, 2% is impact investment, less than 1% is impact investment. Of course, the very first question is this apples and oranges, or is this apples and apples? So at least when we published our report 2 years ago, the first question was, how do you position yourself within Europe? So only for that reason only, it's important that in a European setting, we're talking the same language. But also, as Jose was saying, if we talk to the Commission is already confused by the fragmentation of our landscape. If we fragment our language on top of that, they will be entirely confused and they will leave us behind. So this is the very, very important first step, that we at least talk the same language if we go to the Commission. But there is another reason as well. Some of you might have heard about the Capital Markets Unit, which is already a long time defined, but now the next Commission will be very serious to make it happen, which is creating capital flows throughout Europe, make them more easy across borders. And the sole reason is that, and many of you mentioned that already before, we need far more capital. And today, a lot of the financial markets are still very national. Even at the level of the institutionals, think about pension funds, super local. Even insurance companies, although they're global brands, if you see their operations, still very local. Retail savers, a very important pot of money, again, very local. This Capital Market Unit, and I had the opportunity to talk to Berrigan, the DG of DG FISMA, and he clearly stated this is a very important work for the next 5 to 7 years, that we create a level playing field across Europe so that much more capital can be unlocked for innovation, for impact, and for sustainability. So in order to make that happen, it will be crucial that reports like these, definitions like these, are common and not a hurdle if we open the boundaries and start to invest cross-border. So it will be also an enabler to unlock much more capital transnational within Europe. Your second part of the question, Gianluca, on a global level, I think the same arguments prevail. Maybe one caveat which I would like to put forward is, let's make sure we don't fall into the trap of a Eurocentric definition. What I mean by that is, look, building a school in a city in Belgium, probably it's not considered as impact investing, and rightly so. I mean, it's the outcome of the quality of the education, providing access to people that do not have access otherwise to education, etc., etc. Maybe could classify as impact investing in a Belgian city. Building a school in an outskirt of Kinshasa or in the rural area of Congo DRC is impact investing. So the definition today allows for making that distinction, but we should be open enough and careful that we allow different interpretations and different, let's say, materialization of the definition in the different areas around the world. So let's not make the mistake of being too Eurocentric in how we define what is impact investing.
Thank you, Stephen. And I think also what would be important for us as consortium and also for us as Impact Europe is to make a link with our global family, let's say. So we have organizations like ours that are based in Latam, Africa, and Asia. So we are really trying also to see how we can harmonize definitions and also data collection. And of course, we will be working with the GSG Impact to see how to make sure to involve also their partners in other continents. And of course, as we said at the beginning, we're really building on what has been done by organizations such as the GIN, for example. So having said that, of course, thank you so much, our speakers, for these first 2 rounds of questions. We have received lots of interesting queries, so we still have a bit of time to go through them. I would like to start very unpolitely to take the first question on myself. So I've seen while Laure was speaking, a question about philanthropy. So Laure was saying all money is needed, and the question was why philanthropy is not part of the picture. So I would like to clarify that this position paper is about impact investing. So we're talking about investment that can also generate financial returns, or at least the recuperation of capital. So philanthropy per se is not included, but we have seen, especially in the last years, an even more important role of foundations when it comes to impact investing. We have collected data also on foundations doing impact investing through their programmatic money or through their endowments. In the last study of the European Impact Investing Consortium, we highlighted that only, I would say, 1% of the capital available to impact investors comes from foundations. So we hope to see this becoming more, of course. And the sample of the survey itself 2 years ago had 10% of respondents that were foundations. So we are also working together with Filea on a joint initiative to make sure that we also stimulate foundations and doing more impact investing. And maybe a follow-up question that I received a lot also in private is how our tagline as Impact Europe of investing for impact relates with all these concepts of impact investing included in the paper. So I would like to clarify that when we talk about investing for impact, which is our tagline, we mean actually the sum of additional impact investing and catalytic grant making. So from an Impact Europe point of view, we're not disregarding philanthropy and grant making, but the focus of the paper was on impact investing as such. And then maybe I'll ask the second question that we got maybe to Gianlu, so we can clarify something that was included, and then I have 2 other questions for everyone. So I will read the question and then we see who can answer. But the first question I'd like to take is, if we agree that impact is measured by the difference in what would not have occurred without the intervention, be it financial investment, capacity building, or any kind of impact intervention, how is impact investing different from additional impact investing? Isn't additionality the impact itself, or the difference is the focus on unserved and capital markets? So I'll go to Gianlu because we discussed a lot while putting together the definition. So we clarify this, and then we go to the other questions for our speakers.
Yes, thank you, Alessia, and I will try to be brief, as I think this is an element that we have discussed a lot also with the consortium. And the key here is the distinction between the 2 levels where impact can be generated. So there is the level of the investee, and we can refer also to the term investee additionality when we refer to investors that contribute to solutions that generate an impact that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But it's important to distinguish the fact that those investees could generate that impact with or without the support of additional or non-additional investors. So when we talk about investor additionality, we talk about the value that investor generates on the investee. So in the case of an investee that, to take the example of Stephen, builds school in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, that investee could generate it thanks to the support of a non-additional investor that just provides the money and nothing else, or also thanks to the support of another investor that is defined as additional because it provided them access to flexible instruments, so more patient repairment rate, and also with in-depth support on how they measure and manage their impact so that they've improved their intervention. So it's very important to distinguish between the additionality at the investor level, so how the investor contribute to solutions, and how the investor contribute to value add and to impact that wouldn't have been happening otherwise when supporting the investee, and the level of the investee and the solutions they bring in the world. I hope that wasn't more confusing, but Alicia, if you want to add anything, I'll also leave the floor to the others.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go to another question that is very interesting because it's on social and environmental, and then if our speakers would like to say something on this specific question, they can add. But the question was, based on the additionality criterion, wouldn't be a large portion of the existing impact investing in climate cease to be defined as impact investing? And would you foresee the enlarging gap in funding for social and environmental challenges with funding disproportionately directed to the latter? Another important, I think, element when it comes to social and environmental law.
Yeah, I think this is a very crucial question. So maybe a remark, but before climate is not an impact investment anymore, I think we're going to have quite still a bit of progress to make, given the current state of the world. But that being said, I think not forgetting the S, the social, is very important also when you finance environmental projects. And I think there are many recent occurrences like the Black Lives Matters, the yellow vest in France, that demonstrate that the social aspect should not be left aside. And our colleagues from the UK have published a very interesting paper on just transition, basically making sure that both the S and the G, so the social aspects and the communities, are being involved in transition and environmental investments. And that's super important. So yes, absolutely. The other, I'm sorry, I've got a pop-up now. The other important aspect is, of course, there are not only environmental topics. Right now, a lot of institutional investors, so the biggest part of the capital is, tend to think around climate. SDG 13 is really a very big priority. But what we see is that since the COVID, for example, SDG 3 on good health has taken a lot more importance. Still creating decent jobs is very important. Energy transition. So there's a lot of environmental aspects that are up and that are also related to the compliance with risk mitigating processes put in place by the regulators. So in order, for example, to fulfill net zero commitment, a lot of investors turn to the positive that is created by impact investing and to compensate for the negative in their portfolio. So that's a strategy. So that's why there's a lot of attention. But again, I fully agree. I mean, even in Europe, there's a lot of poverty left. We have in the Netherlands, we have a housing crisis. A lot of affordable housing is also necessary. So that's typically topics where a lot of investors can contribute to solutions, also on the social side.
Stephen, thank you so much, Laura.
I'm not sure I got the question really right, but even if we reclassify certain investments in a better planet and climate, in energy, renewable energy, as sustainable investments, for me, that's perfectly fine. 15 years ago, investing in a windmill, because it still had to be defined as a business model, might classify as an impact investment. Today, I can see a lot of investments in renewable energy where we include batteries, where we increase the bandwidth of the management of the energy net between batteries, solar panels, and so on and so forth, energy management systems. I think they're at the forefront, or still, I would say, many times classified as impact investments. But investing big scale in setting another wind park and putting money to the table, I think is a really great thing to do. And that's probably rather sustainable investing, because you put money to it into a proven business model and you scale it. So the question whether by this definition you reclassify things that used to be impact investments into sustainable investing, it's a sense of maturity that certain business models have been proven and now you can scale them without too much management attention, I think, which is great.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Laura, of course. And maybe now a question for Jose and Thierry. It's always about, again, additionality, so we can continue on that. And the question is, what links do you establish between additionality and the risks and impacts related to the investments? Do you agree to say that the more risks and impacts the investments have, the more additional they are?
Very good question. If I may, I can try to go into it. It's a very good question. We should not be afraid of saying yes. Yes, obviously, yes. But at the same time, we have to say, well, we as investors, as impact investors, we don't forget the part of the investors, meaning that we have to take care of the three elements, right? Risk, return, and impact. So a short answer will be yes, but it's not necessarily the case always. There is also another type of additionality that is not necessarily linked to risk, but also linked to the flexibility of the conditions of the investment, for instance, or the link to the the return that you want to get out of your investment. So you can be less demanding on the return, but at the same time, of course, very, very demanding on the risk of your investment. So additionality is not only about risk. Risk is a quite big piece of it, I would say, because if you want to go to finance underserved capital markets or go to underserved capital markets, you have to ask why they are underserved. Probably they are underserved because the risk is high. So as an impact investor, you have to be ready to probably assume more risk in your investments or to be bolder in the way you invest. But as I said, it's not only about risk additionality. There are other elements that are there, like the return that you might want to get, the flexibility of the terms, or where to address your investments going to underserved capital markets that are underserved not necessarily because of risk, but because of the market has this piece, this area of investment as not attractive. Maybe it's not very risky, but it's not too attractive because of the returns. So many elements there.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
my answer will be also yes, and definitely yes. I agree with José's words. I would add two things. There is the risk, but there is the return, and there is the time, the time to get the money back, which is also a very important issue when you decide to invest. and that's what we call patient capital. And very often, some impact investors accept to invest for a much longer time than other investors, and this is one of the criteria. The second thing is that there is a porosity between sustainable investment and impact investment. Coming back to the Stevens and Laura's words. And I think that what is important for the investors is to know what is sustainable, and we could say that is investment with business models which are set up, and then you have to scale, or we can say you can have other definitions, but it's important to define clearly the categories, and having in mind that, of course, an impact investment is contribute to the SDGs, contribute to the just transition. Otherwise, it's not an impact. So it's not a problem to say if it's sustainable or impact. The question is how it is impact in the framework of the the SDGs. And there is another question which was in the chat, which is how investors were involved in the discussion. In this way you will answer, I can tell you that in France, when we work on this definition, the 2 last years, we had, and I had the responsibility to chair the group and to try to make the group works harmoniously, which is not always easy, but we had a group with investees and investors, and everybody was around the table to find the definition. And this is a very good question, and this is a key issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thierry. And maybe on the investee side, I also would like to say that as Impact Europe, we're collaborating a lot with Euclid, which represents the investee side of the market. And we would like also now to understand how everything resonates with them and their community. Steven.
Yeah, 2 quick points on additionality. First, I like it very much that we make the distinction between additional impact investing and impact investing, for the sole reason that this allows us to put to bed the whole discussion whether impact investing can generate risk-adjusted market-conform returns. As impact investing, so no investor additionality, we've proven over and over again that we can be competitive on our financial returns. So impact, financial return, and risk can go hand in hand and be conform with non-impact investments. So that's really good, because there used to be a lengthy discussion. Very often on additional impact investing, because there is investor additionality, I'm involved in quite a few of those type of funds. It's harder, for the good reasons that you put money, time, efforts, and so on and so forth alongside. It's harder to always get market conform risk-adjusted returns. But that distinction makes it clear that overall impact investment doesn't per se have to give in on the financial return. The second very short intervention on this is, let's not forget that impact investing is about 1 to 2%, even rather 1% globally. So let's not either forgo our time and debate too much on the differentiation. It's an array, it's a continuum between impact investing and additional impact investing. It's 1%, and let's not bite a bullet into 0.5% and 0.5%. Let's make sure that impact investing, whether it's additional or not, is clearly defined and is adjacent to other strategies that we also should support.
Thank you so much, Steven. I think a great final remarks. And maybe considering we still have a bit of time, I would like to ask all the 4 speakers to answer part of the question we received, because I think it's a good way to end this webinar. So in 5 to 10 years from now, what do you see as some of the key issues, the trends affecting impact investing, and are they much differ? How they differ from the themes that we discussed today? So to close, maybe Laura?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alicia. No, I think we're trying to build ecosystems there. And in every ecosystem, we have a delicate balance between supply and demand. And I think the challenge that we're going to have in the coming 5 to 10 years is that we're not missing any challenges. We have plenty of challenges, but before the demand of capital rises to a level that it can absorb the supply of capital, we're going to have impact washing issues. So we need to make sure that the projects actually contributing to solutions are really developing. And what we see is that the supply of capital now is really coming. More and more pension funds, for example, in the Netherlands, are embracing their societal role. They want to invest for impact. They're looking for projects, and that mismatch between the sometimes too small size of the project or too risky and the money that is available under certain conditions, that's our challenge as a sector. And I think if we can transform the essay and find solutions to that challenge, we are going to do a lot of good in this world. But it is for all of us in the sector to agree on the standards, to make sure they are applied with integrity, to communicate also to entrepreneurs and projects also in the, so entrepreneurs in our countries, but also projects in the global south, that capital is coming, and make sure that we involve the unusual suspects, the other type of stakeholders, like philanthropy, but also like governments, to bring that blended finance aspect that might be necessary to finish building the ecosystem. So that's how I see it now.
Thank you, Laura. And to Jose, 15 seconds. I'm joking.
15 seconds. Okay, very good. Because I'm not a prophet, so it's very difficult for me to predict the future. But what I can see in 5 to 10 years is that it's pretty much the same what Laura says. There will be questions about the integrity of impact investing, and because there's a lot of money coming in, and the question is whether this money will be really linked to the challenges. And there will be the questioning of additionality, whether the money goes to where it feels more comfortable, because money is not very brave, as you know, and whether we can, it will be really addressed to the real social challenges that might not be as profitable as other solutions. So probably there will be a questioning about the impact of impact investing. So whether there was a real change after all these years, we have created fantastic categories and tables and so on. Was this useful? Are we really changing things? If I ask to the audience, do you think we are going to meet the goals of the Sustainable Development Goals? So business, it's not only on our shoulders, of course, but it's on impact investing. We feel very happy to see figures growing. That is beautiful. Question is, are we really impactful? Probably this is something that will arise in the future.
Totally agree with you, Jose. Maybe Stephen and then Thierry.
I'll make it very brief. If we solve the issue of impact transparency, there is a great future for impact investing. If we don't solve the issue of impact transparency, we're going to remain marginal.
Brief but effective. So, Thierry.
I will give you a few words. I'm very happy to see that everybody agrees with the idea that transparency and impact washing is a great danger. So I would say two things: social impact measurement, and in the 5 years we have to set up the tools to measure the social impact. And the second one is to reintroduce social dimension in the environmental project, because the main risk is to forget the social because of the climate emergency, which is real, but which is not the unique problem in the world. Thank you.
Great. So I think I would like to thank you, of course, thank all the partners that yes, you can see on the slide that were here today with us with their spirit, and reinforce the message about how cool this harmonization effort was, despite some complexities and the fact that we really need to align on definitions and on data. Stay tuned, because the second study of the European Impact Investing Consortium will be published and launched at Impact Europe Impact Week in Bilbao on the 27-29 of November. So by then we will have new data to present. Again, all the partners are relentlessly work on this effort to give a clear picture of the European impact investing market. We have shared with you in the chat survey also to give us feedback, of course, on the event, but also on the position paper itself. We will welcome any feedback, because as said, now the next step for us is really to see how everything resonates with all the practitioners and other global market builders. Thanks a lot, of course, to Gianluca, our policy team, Roberta for the support and the push in the past 3 years. This was a milestone, and we're very happy that you were with us until the end. Thank you all, and stay tuned, more to come.
Bye-bye, thank you.